What is going on, guys? It's Dom from Mustache the Gathering, and I'm here with another EDH deck tech. Today we're doing Boros Energy with Lae'zel, Vlaakith Champion, and Tavern Brawler as the background. Let's get into what the commanders do. You got Lae'zel, Vlaakith Champion for 2 and a white, legendary creature Gith Warrior. If you would put one or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control or on yourself, you put that many plus one of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, and she has choose a background as well. So, her ability just says, if you put a counter on a permanent or player, put another one on. And if you didn't know, when you get an energy counter, that actually is putting a counter on yourself. So she sees, you get one energy, and she gives you an additional one, which is nice. It's a very good energy commander. She has choose a background. I chose Tavern Brawler because I knew I wanted red in the color identity, and Tavern Brawler gives you a lot of good card advantage. Commander creatures you own have at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets plus X+O until end of turn, where X is that creature's mana value. You may play that card this turn. You don't really care about the plus X+O until end of turn. You really care about just getting an extra card each turn and playing it, getting an extra impulse draw. The plus X+O could come into effect, but not as much as just you have good card advantage. So we really want energy in this deck, so Lae'zel can be giving us additional energy. How are we going to do that? How are we going to generate that energy? With cards like Stone Idol Generator. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you get an energy counter. This triggers on each creature attacking. So if you attack with 3 creatures, you're getting 3 energy, but Lae'zel gives you an additional 3, so you're getting 6. And speaking of 6, you can tap it to pay 6 and create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample, which is good. You have a little bit extra energy. Throw it into here, and you get a golem. You get Phyrexian Ironworks, kind of the baby version of Stone Idol Generator. Whenever you attack, you get an energy. This triggers on each instance of combat, not each creature. So the most you can get is 1 energy a combat, which actually is 2 from your commander, but it's cheaper, so it's still pretty good. You tap it, pay 3 energy, and you create a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem creature token, which is a little bit worse than the 6/12 trample, but it's kind of just scaled down in every way. But it's still good for energy generation. You get a Decoction module. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy. That's going to happen quite often. You're going to be wanting to play a creature every turn pretty much, and so you're getting an additional 2 energy every turn. And you can pay 4, tap it, and return a creature you control to its owner's hand. So if you're really good at ETB, you can put it back in your hand and play it again. Like if you have an ETB that gives you a lot of energy, because there's some that, some creatures that give you 3 mana or 3 energy counters when you play it. So you can just put it back in your hand, get an additional 3, which is nice. You got Dynavolt Tower. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get 2 energies, actually 3 with Lae'zel. This deck isn't chock full of instant sorceries, but this will trigger enough, or if it triggers, 2 or 3 times a game, I think it's going to be worth it because you're getting an extra 6 or 9 energy out of it, which is a pretty substantial amount of energy. You can tap it and pay 5 and basically lightning bolt a creature or player with 5 energy, which is not very efficient, but if you have the extra energy and you really need to get rid of something, you could do that. Brotherhood Scribe for 1 and a white is probably one of my favorite energy generators because it does a little bit of both. It's got Metalcraft, so you're gonna need 3 artifacts, but it's probably going to be pretty easy in this deck. There's a lot of artifacts. With Metalcraft, you tap it, you get an energy. Pretty good. Lae'zel makes it 2. Pretty good value. When you get 1 or more energies during your turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. And you're going to be gaining energy maybe 2 or 3 instances a turn. So all your creatures are getting +2/+2 or +3/+3, which is very good at beefing up your combat. You also have Aether Refinery, probably the best energy generator, because if you would get 1 or more energy, you get twice that many instead. It's one of those cards. And you tap it, you get an energy. But when you get 1 energy, it becomes 2 because of Lae'zel. And then that 2 becomes 4 because you get twice that many, which is actually insane. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, you create an XX black Aetherborn creature token, where X is the amount of mana paid this way. So at the least, you're tapping, you're getting 4 energy. You're paying 4 to get a 4/4, which is pretty, you tap, get a 4/4 is kind of a very nuts ability. But, you sink more mana, more energy into this, you're making an 8/8. It's a pretty big beater. So you have this kind of good energy generation. How are you going to spend that energy? Well, cards like Aetherworks Marvel, which also has energy generation built in as well. A lot of these cards do both things. They generate energy, and then they give you a way to spend that energy, which I think is it's very good design, because it never feels like your energy is worthless. And it never feels like you're struggling to get it, because all the cards that you need energy, they give you energy. So it says whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get an energy. It's not going to happen very frequently, but when it happens, a little bit extra value. The part you really want to care about is you tap, you pay 6 energy, you look at the top 6 of your library, and you may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. You put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So you're paying 6, and you're looking at 6% of your deck, and that percentage just gets higher and higher as the game goes longer and longer, and you're casting something for free. And there's some pretty good high CMC cards in this deck that getting it out for free would be big. So I really, really like this card. You got Fabrication Module. Whenever you get 1 or more energies, you put 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. So this isn't so much an energy sink, but it's giving you +1/+1 counter on creatures you control. But that 1/1 counter is an additional 1/1 counter is added because of Lae'zel, because she also cares about counters on creatures. So whenever you get 1 energy, which is actually probably going to be 2 because of Lae'zel, you get 2 1/1 counters on a creature you control. That's pretty good value. And you can pay 4, tap it, and get an energy. So just in case you have a little bit extra mana on any of your turns, now you have something to sink it into. It's nice. You got Razorfield Ripper. This thing, it rips. That's all I'm going to say. It rips. When a equipped creature attacks, it's one of those things from Kamigawa where it is a creature but it can also be an equipment. Whenever it or equipped creature attacks, you get an energy, which is 2 energy. Then it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of energy you have. So it already gives you 2 when it attacks. So base is getting +2/+2. However, you're going to have more energy from other things. It's going to be, +5/+5, +6/+6. So it's a very, very good equipment to just beef up your team. And as reconfigured for 2 mana or 3 energy, I would recommend paying the mana just because you want to have as much energy as possible to give your creature the hugest buff possible. You get an Unstable Amulet. When it enters, you get 2 energy, pretty good. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, it deals 1 damage to each opponent other than your hand counts as exile. And Tavern Brawler is going to give you an exiled card to cast each turn. So this is really good. You're dealing 1 damage to each opponent each turn. That's pretty nice. There's other Impulse Straw in the deck as well, so it's nice. But you can also pay 2 energy, exile the top card of your library, and you may play it until you exile another card. So if it's a really good card, you can just keep it there and until you want to play it. If it's a land, wait till next turn, play it, exile another card. It's pretty nice that it doesn't give you a time frame on playing the card. It's just whenever you exile another card, which is very, very nice. You got Wheel of Potential, probably my favorite card in the deck. I love the flavor of this. It's, we have Wheel of Fortune at home. This is the reason I made the deck, because I want to play this card and I want this card to be good. So for 2 and a red, you play it. You get 3 energy counters, and then you may pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, you may play cards you own exiled this way until the end of your next turn. So baseline, you're playing this card, you're getting 4 energy because of Lae'zel, and then you may pay 4. And so you're exiling your hand and drawing 4, which is pretty good. If you pay 7 energy, you're turning it into a Wheel of Fortune, but you can play both hands at the same time, which is pretty insane value if you have enough mana to work with. You're probably going to have some lands in there you want to cast. So I really love this card. You got Consulate Surveillance, 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you get 4 energy. 4 for 4 is a pretty good value, 5 with Lae'zel. And then you're paying 2 energy as many times as you want. So it's not, you could do this 3 times a turn. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice. So somebody's attacking you with 3 giant creatures. You pay 6 energy. They don't do any damage to you. It's a very, very good protection, as well as just giving you a very high stimulus of energy at once. You got Wrath of the Skies, basically a board wipe, like Wrath of God, kind of. So you get X energy counters, which is however many you sink it to paying it, because the casting cost is X and 2 white. So you get X energy counters, and then you may pay any amount of energy and destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy paid this way. So if you have a really big creature that's 6 mana, you pay 5 energy counters into this, and then you're good. And the important thing to note is this only costs 2 white mana. The only reason you pay X is because you gain energy counters when you pay X. If you already have the energy counters, you can cast this for 2 white and then sink all of the energy you already have into it to do the board wipe part, which I think is really, really kind of a slept on part of this card, is if you already have energy, you don't need to pay all that mana. And then we have Localized Destruction. It's kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit more expensive, but I think better. It's 3, a white and a white, so it's 5 mana total. You get an energy when you play it, which is 2, and then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, each creature you control with power equal to the amount of energy paid this way gains indestructible until end of turn, and you destroy all creatures. So if you have, Lae'zel's a 3/3 base. If you don't want your commander to die, you go out here, you pay 3 energy, and then every creature you control with 3 power survives. Everything else dies. It's a little bit of a nice one-sided board wipe that is good. So, yeah, it's nice to just have that kind of thing. Also, the art on this card is so sick. It's like a giant robot, like fighting back. Like that looks amazing. So we have all these ways to gain energy and use the energy. But like, how are we winning the game? What are our win cons? Well, we have win cons like Blaster Hulk. Absolutely awesome card, Artifact Creature Pirate. It costs 6 and 2 red. However, it costs 1 less to cast for each energy you've paid or lost this turn. So if you just have, you tap your Stone Idol Generator for 6 energy and make a 6/12, this actually only costs 2 red mana. So you might as well use your energy for something else and save the mana. It has haste, so an 8/8 with haste is already a pretty big deal. Whenever it attacks, you gain 2 energy, 3 with Lae'zel, and then you may pay 8, and when you do, it deals 8 damage divided as you choose among up to 8 targets. So to trigger this, you really only have to have 5 energy before you attack, because you're getting 3 when you attack, and then you're dealing 8 damage wherever you want. 8 damage could take out a lot of these small blockers on the board, so you can swing in with your 8/8. It can just take 8 off of somebody's life and make them, you do lethal damage with your 8/8 now. There's a lot of good things you can do here, and I think this card is really good, and a lot of times if you get this out there, I think you will win the game. You got Ghani's Aether Heart, the Energy Goat. For 6 generic mana, when it enters the battlefield or another artifact enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, already pretty good. And then kind of with the same thing, you pay 8 energy, you exile it, and you take an extra turn after this one. And an extra turn, as everybody knows, is a very good opportunity to just win the game. Extra turns are very, very valuable. It puts you a turn ahead. It's really good. And just like the last card, you only need 5 energy when you play this, because you play it, you have 5 energy, you get 3 from it entering, and you pay 8, and you're good. So it's really, really good. Lightning Runner, kind of the same theme of paying 8 energy. It's a 2/2 with double strike and haste. Whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy counters, and then you may pay 8. If you pay, untap all creatures you control, and there's an additional combat phase. And this can trigger as many times as you want. So if you have 16 energy, you can string 3 combats together in a row. And it's actually very possible with something like Lightning Runner and Stone Idol Generator that you are having infinite combats as long as your creatures can survive, because you're getting energy for attacking and then you're spending that energy. So this card can really just end the game if it gets out of hand. You got Salvation Colossus. 6 and 2 white. It's a flying vigilance trample construct. Whenever you attack, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and indestructible until end of turn. It's a 9/9. But the fun part is it has Unearth, pay 8 energy. Unearth, it has to be in the graveyard. There's a lot of ways to get this card in your graveyard in this deck. There's a lot of looting and rummaging to draw and discard and draw. So there's quite a few ways to actually get this in the graveyard to pay that. You could also pay the 8 mana and just, do it. But it would be better if you can unearth it, because when you unearth, it gains haste. So imagine that, you have a 9/9 haste flying vigilance trample that gives everything else +2/+2 and indestructible. That is a game-winning combat right there. Combined in conjunction with anything else that's buffing your creatures, that is a game-winning combat for sure. And the last one on this list is Scurry of Gremlins. It's not quite as good as the other ones, but I feel like it's still kind of a game winner, because when it enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 red gremlin creature tokens, and then you get an amount of energy equal to the number of creatures you control. So a lot of times this is probably going to be like 5 or 6, so you're getting 6 or 7 energy. And then you pay 4 energy. You can do this as many times as you want per turn. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. So it's not the greatest. +1/+0 and haste is not the greatest for 4 energy, but you have a lot of ways to generate energy, so that you could very possibly have 12 energy, give all your creatures +3/+0 and haste, and then swing out with some of the big creatures you played that turn. I think it has the potential to be a win con, but it can also just go to the general support role. I like it in both areas. So you have ways to gain energy, you have ways to spend energy, you have ways to win the game. But what about, the intermediate time? Like when you're just, you're on turn 3, what are you doing? Well, energy, especially in the Boros colors, actually has a lot of just normal cards, like removal and card draw, like Galvanic Discharge. For 1 red mana, it's an instant. You choose creature or planeswalker. You get 3 energy counters, and then you may pay an amount of energy. Galvanic Discharge deals that much damage to that permanent. So on the surface, this is a lightning bolt to a creature or a planeswalker, because you pay 1 red mana, you get 3 energies, there you go. And you pay 3 energies and it deals 3 damage. But if you already have energy from something previous, or you have Lae'zel out, you're getting 4, you're paying 1 mana, deal 4 damage to something. It's just pretty nice removal for a creature or planeswalker. Harness Lightning, exact same card. It just costs two mana. A little bit less efficient, but still good in this deck because of the extra energy you're getting. Conversion Apparatus. This is a pretty good ramp card that has energy attached. For 3 mana, you're tapping it, you're adding colorless mana. You can also pay 3 to tap and get 3 energy counters, so you can convert your mana to energy, and it goes the opposite way. You can tap it and pay 3 energy and add 3 mana. So this is a good, it's a conversion apparatus. It turns your energy to mana or your mana to energy, and a little bit of ramp on top. You got Solar Transformer, also a little bit of ramp. For 2 mana this time, it enters the battlefield tapped, which is not great, but it's kind of on theme with like a Fire Diamond or something like that. But it's also better. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy, which is pretty good. 3 energy early game, 4 if you have Lae'zel out, pretty good value. You tap it for a colorless, or like the same way as the previous card, you pay an energy, tap it for a mana. So it converts either way. But the thing you care about is its ramp and it does energy, which is nice. Aether Hub. It's just a land. There's no downsides to this. It doesn't enter the battlefield tapped. It enters the battlefield. You get an energy counter. You can tap it for mana, and if you pay an energy, you can tap it for mana of any color. It's a no-brainer in the deck. Like Helios 1, you tap it for an energy, another land, or you tap it for a colorless, or you pay 1, tap it for an energy, which another way to turn your mana into energy. Or you pay 3, tap it, and you pay X energy, and then you kill something with that mana value. Which, if there's something small that you want to get rid of, it's good, but I wouldn't recommend. That's kind of a last resort thing because you really don't want to be destroying your lands, but it's still pretty good. And these are also some cards that we have that just kind of didn't fit the other themes, the other talking points. But there's some really fun energy cards that are also in this deck, like Voltstorm Angel. It's kind of like a Sarah Angel. 4/4 Angel Flying. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters, 4 with Lae'zel. I can't say that's enough. A pretty insane value with your energy. And at the beginning of combat, you may pay 2. When you do, you either choose to give Voltstorm Angel Vigilance and Lifelink. A 4/4 Vigilance Lifelink flyer is pretty good. Get some extra life in there. They might not be able to block it. Or other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So if you're attacking to try and end the game or just want to deal some extra damage, give all your creatures +1/+1. That's pretty nice value. You got Conduit Goblin. Love this card. It's just like, look at him. He's just the coolest goblin with armor. He's got fire in the background. He's got little goggles on. When he enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. Love it. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay an energy and give another target creature +1/+1 and haste, +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. So it's just a nice little haste enabler. You don't even need to attack. It's very nice. And Guide of Souls. This card actually has been played in standard, so it's a little bit more expensive than I would like, but it's pretty good. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and an energy counter, which is beautiful. Also, it's not being played as standard. It's being played in modern. MH3 isn't legal in standard. I don't know what I'm thinking. But anyway, you get a life and an energy, actually 2 energy with Lae'zel. Whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy, and when you do, you put 2 1/1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types. With Lae'zel, 2 1/1 counters actually becomes 3 1/1 counters. So you're giving a creature 3 1/1 counters and flying. That's really good. That you just created a big flyer, and flying is still a big threat in Commander. I think people sleep on how good flying is and how often there's just no flying creatures even in a game. So this is really nice. You got Jolted Awake. You choose up to 1 target artifact or creature in your graveyard. You get 2 energies, 3 with Lae'zel. Then you may pay any amount of energy equal to that card's mana value. If you do, you return it to the graveyard, from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, you have your Conduit Goblin. You're like, no, my Conduit Goblin died. You play this card, you pay 2 energy, get it back. Something even bigger also, if you have a lot of energy, this is giving you 2 energy. So, you have a 5-mana thing in the graveyard. You pay 5 energy, you get it back. It's pretty nice. And then you have Overclocked Electromancer. I very, very, very much like this card. For 2 and a red, it's a 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, you put a 1/1 counter on her, which is actually 2 1/1 counters with Lae'zel. And whenever she attacks, I think Overclocked Electromancer, I'm going to say she's a she. I'm going to gender the lizard, okay? Whenever she attacks, you double, it says it's, whatever. You double the power until end of turn. So at the very base, for 3 mana, you're playing this card, you're attacking, you're paying 3. She becomes it becomes a 4/4, which is pretty good because you put 2 1/1 counters because of Lae'zel. And then when you're attacking double power, it's an 8/4. And whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, if that creature is without excess damage, you get that much energy counters, where X is the excess damage. So if somebody blocks with their 1/1 soldier, you're getting 7 energy. This just has a lot of value and also is a big beater that kind of sneaks up on you because of the fact that it doubles only during combat on your turn. Because when you attack with her, yeah. So that is the end. That is the Lae'zel Vlaakith Champion Tavern Brawler Boros energy deck. I very much like this deck. Despite being an energy deck, which is kind of a jank strategy, I feel like it actually performs very well. It keeps up at the table, and I'm a big fan of it. So if you liked this deck and actually want to see the full deck list, I will have it linked. I will have my mox field linked in the description, and you can check out the full deck list. Give me any tips, any cards you think I should include, any cards you think I should take out, and stick around and come back for the next EDH deck tech.